Hello and welcome to Matchday Matinee, the show where we review and rank a never-ending list of the cinematic takes of the beautiful game. Today I am joined by gruesome Mark Guelmer and spooky Raghav Sandhu. How are you guys doing?
Hey, happy Halloween.
Yeah,
happy Halloween. How are you doing?
Too bad. Trick-or-treating is cancelled, but we are still here tonight doing a Halloween special.
Are you doing the trick-or-treating or are you giving out candy?
Neither. Turn all the lights off and hide in my basement like I do every year. Make them think I'm out. And then go buy all the cheap candy the day after.
Yeah.
You guys, what are you? You have a daughter, Mark. Is she?
I have a 7-year-old.
Oh.
Yeah. But honestly, man, these days it's like when we were kids, you would like adore every morsel of candy that came your way on Halloween. But I know at our house, I'm not sure if it's the same in other houses, there's just candy everywhere, nonstop, like year-round. So candy has lost its luster to some people, I think.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Growing up, like, we didn't... like, Halloween was, like, the extravaganza, the only time you had a house full of candy. But you're right, like, kids... Times have changed, yeah.
It's first world problems.
Yeah. We're so fortunate to have mountains of candy everywhere.
Desensitized to candy and trick-or-treating,
Yeah. I mean, for myself, I don't have any kids. I am not planning to give any candy out to kids, so I'll also be shutting off all my lights and hiding out in my basement as well.
You guys are the worst.
Yeah, proper. Like,
hey, man.
My childhood is over. I got mine. Kids can worry about themselves.
That's it. You know what? The government recommendation is that we should not be doing it, and I'm going to take that recommendation.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, whatever the Halloween version of Scrooge is, basically.
That's it. Except now it's justified, I guess. I'm taking the government's word to become Scrooge.
Yeah.
I've done.
But you know, next Halloween's going to be awesome. Everyone's going to go all out. And hopefully, fingers crossed, COVID is in the rearview mirror by then. But I can imagine everyone just going nuts next year. Welcome back party.
For sure. So, should we talk about this week's movie, guys?
Let's do it. Excited.
So, this movie is in fact about a virus that spreads pretty quick. This week we are covering Goal of the Dead, which is a 2014 comedy horror movie which made on a relatively modest budget of 4.1 million. Interestingly, which we'll get into a little bit later on, is directed by two directors, Thierry Pourad and Benjamin Rocha. So they both directed it but not together. Interestingly, the special effects were done by Olivia of Alfonso, who was the special effects guy for Taken 2. We have Alban Lenore as Sam Louette, Charlie Bueno as Soline, Tiffany Dafiot as Cleo, and Ahmed Cilia as Idris Diago. The movie premiered in 2014 in February in France, where it was screened as two separate films. The films were later combined for its festival screenings and international theatrical releases to coincide with the 2014 World Cup. So basically, the plot of this film is pretty simple. Olympique de Paris are a French team who are going to play a smaller club team that the main character, Samuel Loyat, played for as a youngster. And we follow kind of their road trip to that stadium and then the subsequent massacre that happens as a result of some, I guess, doping, we'll say, which we'll get into later. And then all chaos ensues, and basically the entire small town, becomes a breeding ground for zombies. Although it's one of these films where they're not necessarily called zombies, and they kind of follow the rule of like the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead remake, where they can kind of run and everything. Like the main zombie guy is like really strong, really quick. So what do you guys think coming into this film? It's definitely different. First time we've covered a horror movie. I don't kind of know how much you guys are into horror movies as a genre. Raghav, go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely not into horror movies. I'm especially not into zombie apocalypse type Walking Dead. I'm not into that stuff at all. However, I realized what this movie was, and this movie is kind of one of those horror comedies. Almost. And I was okay with it. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't crap. It was okay. It had its moments where I thought it was a little bit funny. The one of the characters, Idris, I thought was funny.
Guy's an idiot, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was funny. there's other moments that I thought, maybe were a little bit forced, like the relationship of the main character with his daughter that he finds. I thought that was a little bit forced, but not a bad watch. Not a bad one-time watch. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about you, Mark?
Regev could not be more wrong. This movie is so sick. I thought it was going to be good coming into it, but I think, again, I'm like a big horror guy. I was super into horror back in like the early 2000s, like absorbing as much as I could. Massive fan of like the Night of the Living Dead series. So like the original, the remake, I think it was the 70s, Dawn of the Dead original movie, Zack Snyder's remake, 28 Days Later. I even watched like the really bad Romero sequels that came out.
Like Land of the Dead and stuff.
Which were all filmed in Toronto. So like Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, one more that I'm not even remembering, but it was Of the Dead. So I was looking forward to this too, because like Night of the Living Dead is actually public domain, so anybody can make a sequel to it if they wanted to. So it's interesting that like they could make a Goal of the Dead that's kind of in step with the original Night of the Living Dead. But on its own, man, this movie was awesome. From the horror aspects, like they nailed it. Like the zombies that were spitting that like milky white bile, like I haven't seen that before. 28 Days Later had something similar. And then just like the zom-com aspect of it, like the comedy landed for me, every aspect of it. Like Idris was hilarious. The small moments with Laurie, the four hooligans, the Cap Blanche hooligans.
Yes, they were funny.
Great.
They were funny.
Yeah, I love this movie. I thought it was really good, and I can't wait to discuss it with you guys.
Yeah, the four hooligans definitely I thought were really funny. I thought was a huge plus point for the movie. The four ultras, the only four ultras at. How do you pronounce the name of that city again, or that team?
Cap Blanche.
Cap Blanche, that's it. So the four ultras of Cap Blanche kind of remind me of a lot of people that I know locally. But,
yes, totally. In joke that only people who live in Mississauga will get, but yeah, if you're listening from there, good for you.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same actually. I don't think I went as long as you did with horror movies, Mark, but I was definitely like super into horror movies in the turn of the 2000s, and I think it's just I think it's kind of an age thing. Kind of first time having a job like after high school and having a bit more disposable income, and then suddenly being old enough to buy horror movies and just buying like I have so many DVDs of horror movies of that era, and then classics like all the Living Dead movies.
I think this whole row here on my shelf is all horror movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah. But even before that, like it just hanging out with my cousins, and like we'd go to the video store, and back then like they'd let you rent anything. It wasn't like they were worried about checking ID, but we would just rent like any horror movie we could. So like the Friday the 13th series, Nightmare on Elm Street series, and then Sleepaway Camp, and then some like really low budget ones, because that's the great thing about horror is like with $500,000 you can make a bad movie.
Yeah.
Right. That's still somewhat enjoyable.
Yeah, and see, I think for that reason, I was never a horror movie fan, right? It's not because it scared me as a child or anything like that. It's just, just something unexpected always happens, and it's not horror, it's just shock to me. It's just a shock factor. It's not really scary.
It's kind of like the freak show aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right? Yeah. Like the kills, and I'm going to bring back a segment when we start getting into it from one of our earlier episodes, but just the aspect of seeing like zombies get killed in this one, right? And all these different creative ways. As if that was in any other movie, like if that was in a drama, it's not as laughable. You can't just like laugh it off when somebody gets killed by a stool, right? There's some emotional aspect to it. Whereas in horror movies, it's kind of just like a spectacle.
Yeah, I guess any horror movie where it's like ghosts or zombies or anything, because you already got that like suspension of disbelief kind of thing. Like you're already out of it, and it's not taking itself too seriously. So
yeah, I'm a very bland drama type of guy. So
let's get into the plot, I guess. So we start the story with Olympique de Paris on the bus. And I guess before that though, it opens with a riot and the result of the scene. The result of the game, and you kind of see a hint of what's going to come. And we get a title card, and it actually says first half and the director's name, which is kind of a cool thing. And then we're introduced to the players on the bus, and they're kind of watching a show where there's a pundit kind of slagging them off, and it kind of seemed like a comedic style pundit show. And I don't know if you guys, there's a Serie A show. I don't know what it's called in Italian, but it's called Those Who Football, and it's kind of just a completely like irreverent take on football. They don't care. It kind of seemed like that because they were just joking at the players. Had people like in the audience like laughing and stuff, and one like people having a pop at Samuel Laureate, the main man who's returning to the club. Get introduced to a few of the players here. Funnily, the 3 Asian players, Park, and Park, I think it's implied that their names are, and it's pretty funny, and they kind of didn't understand. They came like fully dressed, ready in their kits to go on the bus. The coach kind of has a yell at them for... And it's like an easy joke to make, but it kind of sets you up that, okay, this film's going to be goofy. It's going to like not take itself seriously. We cut away from this, and a delivery guy is delivering some stuff and drops 2 parcels. The labels kind of get covered in mud, and he drops off one parcel to a guy who kind of looks like a crazy scientist, and he's kind of like, and it turns out he's been doping his son, preparing for this game. His son was kind of I forget his name. I didn't write his name down in my notes. Junot. Yeah, he has a grudge against Samuel that goes back to when they played youth football together, and so he injects him with this. Whatever this material is, it was clearly not meant to come here. I think he was expecting some steroids or something, and then he starts. It's like it's not like he becomes a zombie at first. It kind of accentuates his hatred of Samuel, and he just trashes the basement in fury, using some extremely colourful language. I'm not going to repeat here, but like he hates Samuel. We cut back to the bus again, and this is where we first meet. Idris, and he's keeps asking questions he won't answer because there's a journalist lady on the bus, and he's like, I won't answer without my agent. And he's kind of like, I thought that was funny. It really speaks to a lot of, you see so many players getting interviewed now. The interviews are so bland because they don't want to say anything that will like put out of turn with either the public relations of the club or stuff that their agent's gonna have to like pay damage limitation on later. So I thought it was really funny. And then the bus hits our zombie running friend. So then they have to stop for a bit, and they all go for a piss in the woods, and they unfortunately leave behind one of the Asian players.
But there's a part here where Idris, after he's finished urinating, he just wipes his hands on the manager.
Oh yeah. Like a complete lack of respect, because like he's kind of set up this idea that he's already leaving, right? He's got a big move to. They talk about London and stuff. They don't really name a club because it's not official, but so then we get to cut to like this, like almost like a cue card that tells us a few facts about the stadium. So it says they have 1 stadium, 765 seats, and 4 ultras who we've already met previously. One of them's on a long range like RC radio thing, and they're practicing their chants. Like they have like hymn sheets, I guess, for their chants, and they're kind of saying they're having a debate. They're saying then it's kind of interesting. They talk briefly about whether saying that somebody's from Ivory Coast and whether pointing that out is racist, and they kind of all argue, and they're like, no, it's not. And then it's like it kind of proves that you're racist anyway because he isn't from Ivory Coast. I think it's established he's
Senegalese.
Senegal, yeah.
Senegal,
so then it's kind of like you guys are racist anyway. You couldn't even be asked to figure out which African country. Kind of reminded me, and I don't know if Mark, you might remember this because you watched some of those World Cup recap movies. But a lot of the commentary in old World Cups, whenever an African team scores, they would always be like, all of Africa is cheering for that goal. And it's like, really? Because I don't think people from South Africa give a shit if Zambia score a goal. Let's be honest. Like, and it's just like, it's just weird. This movie kind of nailed some of these weird things that kept evoking memories in me. I was like, it's obviously some like craft here behind the football stuff as well as the horror, which I kind of appreciated.
Yeah, that's like, I think we've had that issue too, where we find that football in these movies is tied in some like minimal way, but throughout this entire movie, it was almost every little aspect of it that they incorporated soccer, whether it be like the hooligans or tying everything back to the end at the when they're back on the field level. Even when he's like in the pub, right, and they have like the soccer arcade machine there,
and it's like
they're talking about the matches from the past. So yeah, like you're right. Like there is actually some care put into it to try and weave soccer in through the entire thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one feeling about this movie that I got, as opposed to some other movies that we've done. That soccer is a huge theme in this movie, right? It's everything is done very organically, I guess I want to say.
Yeah, it's like in your face,
Yeah, it's in your face, and every aspect of soccer is actually shown in this film, which right? It is a horror comedy about zombies, but it's Goal of the Dead, so that whole theme is very prevalent throughout the movie, which is really nice.
Yeah, like even the antagonist, his motivations is that Larit moved up to Paris and didn't take him with them, right? Or they think that he threw that final match that would have got them promoted into the Ligue 1, I guess.
Ligue 1, yeah.
So the players are kind of counted back into the bus. Some dimwit only counts 2 Asian players, and they're trying to desperately tell him, like, hey, no, there was 3 of us. There's only 2 of us here, because I guess one of them went further into the woods. He gets infected by the zombie. And this is the sort of unique method, I guess. Everyone gets infected is by them spewing this white bile onto them. Which
is that what they did in 28 Days Later?
See, I don't remember. It's been so long since I've seen 28 Days Later. I feel like it might be similar, yeah. Looking into some research, I found out that syrup stuff was actually made out of corn syrup. So I guess they filled their mouths with corn syrup and then spat it out at each other. So he gets infected. We then cut back again to the fans, the 4 fans outside, the ultras. And a police/security guard guy who's one of their dads comes and bans them from attending the game, calls them a bunch of little shits, which I thought was pretty funny. And this is one thing I do find about this one. The pacing is kind of all over. It's I would criticize, there's just so many characters packed in. Yeah. And you compare it to something, the obvious comparison to make sometimes in terms of the tone is Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
And that film kind of centers on the 2 guys at the beginning. And Simon Pegg and Nick Frost characters, and slowly builds up to there being a more ensemble cast. Whereas this is we're going to show you everybody that could possibly be involved and kind of cut between them all. So I did it's a lot of quick snaps between all these scenes, which was kind of a lot at the beginning, especially considering the film's 2 hours long. You'd think they could spend a bit more time.
There's 3 main storylines, right? Like Larit and his family, Idris, and then the Ultras. Well, I guess the Ultras ties in with the Larit storyline.
Yeah,
they all converge at some point.
Yeah,
but that's my one criticism of the movie, is that it could have been a bit shorter.
Yeah,
it would have been a lot more fun had they cut out some of the family drama, I guess.
Yeah, 2 hours is long for a comedy or a horror film, really.
Yeah.
But do you guys know the fast fact about this movie? Do you know?
2 directors?
The 2 directors, but so these were actually shot as 2 separate movies.
Yeah.
I don't see why though. They weren't
that's the weird
drastically
thing. So
different.
I kind of wrote down my notes when we get to that halftime split how there's no tonal difference, nothing. It literally picks up where it finishes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe it's going to cut to 3 days later or something, and they're all geared up and stuff. And it doesn't. It doesn't. The writing, it's written by 6 people. 2, one of which is one of the directors. So it's clearly a writing room film anyway. So it's all a bit of a hodgepodge of stuff anyway, but nothing really changes. It's so weird.
Do you remember Grindhouse?
Yeah. So that's
Tarantino did the second film, and I think Rodriguez did the first film, Planet Terror and Death Proof. So I was expecting something like that, where there's a massive tonal shift, but that just feels like one movie. So it comes across as a gimmick more than anything.
Yeah. So anyway, Zombie also infects some phone repairmen that are working on the side. Soline gets to interview Samuel, she's the woman on the bus. He recounts tales of his childhood and how he isn't like other players. He's kind of sensitive. And then we cut to this toilet of a bar, and there's a girl showing off her tramp stamp, saying that all the wags have them, and she's preparing for the busload of players to come, hoping to get Idris to recognize her. She's got this gaudy t-shirt of him. The players arrive, and kind of Samuel lights up when they get there, whereas everyone else is just this place is the fucking pits, it's a dump. It's kind of I would compare this to how when I feel when I go back to Portsmouth. Every time, as soon as I see that sign and we're pulling in, I'm like, holy shit, I'm home. And but to anybody else, don't give a shit. It's whatever. It's not your
mentality.
So yeah. One of the players jokes that they haven't been vaccinated. It's implying everyone's disease ridden and inbred. They talk about they start chanting at them. It's silent at first when he gets off, and then they all start abusing him essentially for leaving them. They're chanting tiki taka at him and stuff. That's a derogatory thing. and then they get pissed off him basically for selling out. They're not nice to him at all. They say, one guy says, we'll destroy you and make you weep out of your ass. And then the dumb girl with the tramp stamp gets her kiss. They interview fans to some like hilarious results. They all like are not happy about what's going on, aren't happy that he's here. We cut back to the zombie guy running through the field, kind of yelling, Laurie.
Do they? So there's the scene with the girl in the car and her boyfriend. Is that now or when they're going towards the match at night? Do you know which part I'm talking about?
No, you'll have to jog my memory. Go on.
So she's in the car with her boyfriend, and they're talking about their memories of Laurie back when he was in Cap Langer. And she's like, oh, you know, he was really athletic in high school. And she keeps alluding to that she slept with him.
Oh,
and her boyfriend's like, okay, take it easy.
Yes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
What was I right? Oh, so yeah. So he's screaming. This kind of did remind me about, and this kind of happens later as well, this thing about how when zombies in their zombie-like state, they still act on like instinct. So like zombies shuffling around the mall in Dawn of the Dead kind of. And this is the same thing. This guy, he still wants to get to this game and get his revenge on Laurie, and he's going to run the whole way there. He's still going to make the game and trash Laurie, but it's just kind of funny. Like that's all he's focused on getting.
Just
there.
the it of the zombie brain, yeah.
So yeah, we get a very quick team talk at this point. It's a simple one, kind of like if you've watched All or Nothing, it's kind of like the Harry Kane just yelling, let's do this thing.
That's when he notices one of the parks is missing.
Yeah, that's when like crap, somebody else have to play. He doesn't seem that arsed though when he realizes he's missing. Indris's agent comes in and says like sort of trying to dictate who's playing and who's not. So yeah, this is at this point where they realise Jean Belver is missing. So he's the zombie, and kind of they're like, yeah, we'll have to shift our team around. The Ultras managed to sneak in, even though they were banned, and they kind of have a plan where they're going to play a cassette tape and throw some flares. We do see a little bit of the players warming up here, but it's kind of like not really, like it's like dim, and you just see like balls like whizzing past. We don't really see many people kicking them or anything. And then we get the kickoff, and we see some very basic football scenes, very slow passes that we'll kind of cover in a bit when we do Footy Flicks.
Yep.
The cops come to the scene. The police guys, like they found one dead guy. They instantly blame the football. He's like, "This is what I told you. If football comes to the city, violence happens." The doctor arrives to try and stop his son. He's trapped in the phone booth. Samuel basically gets sent off actually for kind of a nothing. Like, both players are dribbling the ball. It's kind of one of those. I don't think it'd get a sending off now in the VAR era, but in this, it's like they just kind of brush past each other. But it's revealed that the ref also has a grudge against him.
Right.
It's clearly one of those things where it's like a local ref. He's like 17 years ago.
Yeah.
He's like, you quit a scumbag. And so
well, isn't this a scene where what's his name? Idris and the main character basically they want to prove that they're the best, and then he slips over the ball and then headbutts the opposing player by accident.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of flies into him, because he just goes to steal the ball off him, when he's dribbling. So then it's kind of one of those. It's accidental. I could see it in the past if all the ref saw was that collision. Someone might have got sent off for it, but
I guess the important thing here is what they show at this juncture of the movie is essentially that Idris and Sam both have something to prove, and they're both not willing to play with each other. They kind of want to be the man individually, which has kind of an impact later down the film.
Yeah, that's true. Samuel trashes the trophy room at this point. The Ultras throw on their flares to the pitch, so it's conveniently covered in smoke end to end, and the fans recognise that Geno has made his way here, and he infects all the other players on the pitch pretty much.
There's some super gross out scenes in this. There's that
Yeah.
couple that was making out the entire time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like aggressively, and then when they both get infected, they're just throwing up into each other's
Into each
faces,
other's
Jeez.
faces,
projectile vomiting. Yeah.
So the friend of the tramp stamp girl comes into the locker room to talk to Samuel, sees him naked, and he kind of awkwardly, as we find out later, asks her if she's of age, and then she's like yes, and he's like cool, let's go get drunk. Kind of slowly see all the players getting infected here. Then the chaos erupts to the stands. Everyone's getting infected. This is where Samuel finds that arcade machine that we were talking about earlier. Kind of plays on it for a little bit. Refuses to accept the girl's name is Cleo. He says that's not a name.
Yeah.
He
Thinks
helps-
it's Chloe.
Yeah, thinks it's Chloe. That's it. Yeah. Helps himself to a drink, and this is where he kind of sort of comes onto her a little bit. Says he thinks she's a hooker, and then she calls him a loser. He tells her to get lost. There's a noise outside, and Soline, the TV girl, shows up and tries to shut up the pub. Samuel just manages to pull down the shutter in time when he realizes that she's not crazy, that something has definitely gone on at the football that's not normal. And then we are left with the cliffhanger. Soline kind of asks Samuel, who's the girl you're with? And she's like, I'm his daughter. And then we hit end of first half. And we get a really cool thing of kind of like the films being changed here and it actually flipping between movies. We get a new set of credits. If someone could, I'm assuming that part of this is meant to be Samuel in the past, but we meet two young boys with mullets and a girl who one of the boys kisses. So I'm assuming we're cutting back to the time before the cliffhanger, kind of if that's maybe Samuel with Cleo's mum.
With Jeannot. Because later on in the movie, you see a picture of Jeannot and Samuel, Laurie, and he says something about the mullet. He's like, what, mullets were in style back then. So that was him and Jeannot who had the relationship.
Okay, got ya. So then we get a cut to Goal of the Dead second half and the new director's name. And we're kind of with the cops at this point. The partner, who's called Annabelle, is beating the crap out of somebody. They rip off a car door to use as a shield.
Yeah.
This is this is like the coolest. This is where I was like, okay, like the actual mayhem's going to start here. I was just like, this is like a cool way I've never seen, because basically a zombie tries to put its head through the window and they wind the window up and cut its head off with the window. And I was like, that's cool. That reminds me of like Shaun of the Dead, where they're throwing the records at the girl's head. I'm just like, this is like, there's something here. It's funny. The timing's like really good. Like it's really on.
Okay, so we had this segment back in what was the movie with Dave Bautista? Final Score.
Final score, yeah. Best death, right?
Best death scene. So do you guys need a recap of a few of them?
Go on then, if you've got them written down, yeah.
Okay, there's the karate kick into the electrical box where the guy just fries.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good one, pretty violent. There's the door lady, which was repeatedly slammed into a fender when Jeannot first shows up, and she's like, you can't come in here. And then just like devastates her into the fender of that truck. The zombie decapitation in the door that you just mentioned. There's somebody that gets beaten with a stool. And then when he finally exhausted from beating the zombie with the stool, puts the stool through them and then takes a seat and rests. There's the couple that have been making out and then they just start projectile vomiting into each other's faces and infecting each other. There's the slow motion headshot spree, which is awesome. And it's so well shot. So it starts with somebody getting shot through the stomach and you see the slow motion.
That's where the cop gets shot, which is
Larry's
cop
dad,
gets Sam's dad, yeah.
And then you see somebody going out and just taking on zombies with like the slow motion shotgun, and which is really well directed and just epic action scene. And then the last one I have here is the flare in the mouth, which we haven't gotten to yet, but it's pretty cool from that character who finally takes a stand and grows some balls.
Yeah.
My favourite, now you've mentioned it, it's probably that slow-mo like bullet time one. It's
Same
just
here.
so well done and like different. Like you don't see bullet time stuff, and the camera pounds around really well. It's just really well shot. That's probably the best one, like artistically. And
you were saying the visual effects supervisor was the same as the person from Taken 2?
yeah,
So I wonder if that's kind of where they borrowed some of this.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, we need one like money shot. What have you got?" And he's like, "Hey, bullet time. Let's go for it."
Was that the Paris one, Taken 2, or was that Taken 1?
I think that's Taken 2.
Taken 2, right? So it kind of makes sense. They probably got somebody local.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with the zombie decapitation in the car door, just because that was the first like really crazy one, and had me like jumping out of my seat because it was just so like I hadn't seen that before.
Definitely the slow mo, the headshots for me, especially when they're using guns and stuff like that. Because it was a GTA where you get those kind of slow mo shots as well.
When you have like the rampage or mode,
Yeah,
or whatever, right?
when you're having a gunfight with a bunch of people and you get them like right in the head, it slows down and it actually shows you.
And Red Dead does
bullet, right?
That's it.
Red Dead does it, yeah.
Which one? Red Dead?
Red Dead,
the Dead Eye Shot or whatever it's called.
Yeah. I knew it was one of the Rockstar games, but that's cool.
Very cool.
Okay. So we cut to the pub. Samuel's arguing and refusing to accept the fact that he's a dad. This is where it's the first set of players that have managed to escape run in, and it's the park. I'm not going to say brothers, but park players I wrote down. And then we cut to Idris hiding in the locker room. He's with his agent, the manager, and one of the local players who is clearly infected and slowly becoming a zombie, but no one's kind of realised what's happening yet. The coach gives a really rousing speech here about wrecking the pitch from centimetre to centimetre only to get attacked. The agent then kind of shows him off to be like a bit of a kung fu master and wipes out, I guess some zombies come out, and this is where the stool scene is, and he kind of just kicks ass and then like swings that stool around and then just sits on it and just like takes a breather.
That's awesome.
So we learn that Samuel is the cop's son here. This is where as well we cut back as well, and the agent proves himself to be a little bit of a shit, because we kind of learn that the agent's like, come on Idris, we'll go, and he's like, Idris kind of says, well, maybe I've got an injury, and then he's kind of like just leaves him to fend for himself, because he's like, screw it, you're not worth any money to me if you've got an injury. So he just goes. He gets attacked by a zombie at this point, and then one of the ultras saves him, and we see that it's the girl who fancied Idris because she's got that terrible shirt of him on. So it's like her body's just on the floor. Back to Samuel. He's having to make his mind up because he kind of earlier said to Solene, the reporter, that his dad was dead. And I guess it was just, he meant like dead to me, not actually dead, because I guess they didn't have a relationship. They start to piece kind of the history together and realize that maybe Cleo actually is his daughter. We learn that dad does not respect football and does not think it's a profession, so he's obviously very old school. He's like a policeman, takes his job really seriously.
Does make sense because Larit went pro.
Yeah, so it's like he's
for like the biggest team in France. So
biggest team in France is, if anything, you're going to be a dickhead to say you left me behind and you've not helped your old man out or anything, but instead he's just outright doesn't respect his job at all, and it's just like, all right, dickhead.
That's strange.
So they decide that they could use the radio that the ultras have for help, and they kind of come up with a mission how they're going to get it. Again, we cut back to the school slightly here, where we find the manager trying to resuscitate himself, kind of. The agent finds him in the school gym. We cut back, and they've come up with a plan to get to the radio. So they get there. Laurie says, Captain Laurie, so the dad, the police, says, get the swap the team. And the other side, the guy's like joking, I've got them on speed dial, like whatever, we'll come to you. A zombie comes out, and Teddy, one of the other guys, shoots Laurie in the stomach by accident along with the zombie. This is where the slow time effect kind of rolls in. It's just like really cool, like really, like just the way it's cut. If you're gonna watch one scene from this, it's possibly that. It's just cut so well. Back to the agent and the coach. They're kind of connecting with each other, even though he calls him a piece of shit for the way he's treated Idris, and he kind of says, but his knees, he's messed up. They talk about soccer camps and players' lives before they start fighting. The coach is an old school boxer versus the agent's kung fu, and then suddenly the wall comes down and they get eaten. So it's like kind of like whatever. Cut to the captain dying, so the police captain. Laurie's dad, they hatch a plan to get the doctor. Idris is with the ultra, and they kind of connected with each other, this Ultra's kind of tries to relate to Idris, and he's having none of it. He's like, yeah, I'm from Paris too. We're like so similar, and we're like both out. I'm from Paris, out of my comfort zone, and so are you. We're like kindred spirits, and he's just not having any of it.
You know what's funny? Like Idris running around this entire time in the cleats.
Yeah, the whole
on
time.
Like the slippery cement floor. It's almost like that trope of like women and damsels in distress in horror movies having to run around in high heels.
Yeah.
So so he doesn't buy that. We then cut back to the other team of Ultras who find all their weapons that got confiscated. Kind of have a cute moment where they open up some beers and kind of cheers through the little hole in between the gate thing. They kind of blame their problems on Samuel leaving, which is an interesting thing to take. So they kind of say, yeah, our club went downhill when he left and it affected the whole town, and we're basically drunks because he left. And Cleo's like, that's pathetic. You're like grown-ass men and you're blaming it on my dad leaving you like 10 years ago. It makes no sense. Cut to a scene where Idris is dancing, which was kind of comedic, but it went on a little bit too long. Because he's kind of celebrating the fact that they've killed some zombies and stuff. But yeah, it was still funny though, still like wacky, and like you're not meant to take this guy seriously.
Very French humor, I found.
Yeah, totally. So we cut back to Samuel. They found the doctor. They realize there's a leak in the ceiling, and he kind of realizes it's the doctor's dead wife. He hits him, gives him a speech about wrecking his son's life. Captain then hits the doctor with the butt of his gun. Some zombie crap falls from the ceiling into his mouth. That's kind of what the leak was. And he tells Samuel he loves him, and as he starts to turn, he says a lot of vulgar stuff about young Cleo before he turns.
That scene was very, very reminiscent of 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
Who's the guy that played Mad-Eye Moody in Harry Potter?
Don't know his
I
name.
cannot remember his name.
I think is Dom Hall Gleeson the Star Wars guy?
Yes.
It's whoever Dom Hall Gleeson's dad is.
Is that his dad?
Dad, yeah.
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson, that's who it was. Because in that movie, they finally escape to like a safe haven, and then he looks up, and a drop of zombie blood hits him in the eye, and that's when he turns, which is almost exactly what happened here. So I guess it's not much.
See, I'm not a fan of stuff like that. It's just like just in time, matter of fact. Oh, like, he's about to, or he's telling his son that he loves them, and then all of a sudden he's going to turn just as that's happening. Like, I can't do that, man.
You don't believe it's real?
It's not believable. I mean, the whole movie's not believable. But
we've seen everything happen this year.
I think
you're trying to say that's not believable.
I think it has to be done in that kind of way to give it any sort of emotional weight in a dumb film. If they walk away from that tender moment, it doesn't mean anything in amongst all this madcapness. But the fact his dad finally tells him I love you, and then he loses him, it's the only way to get any emotional like oomph behind it, I think.
But that stuff happens in like action movies. Like, did you like The Departed?
Yeah, The Departed was good.
The ending of that is no more like coincidental than this.
It's true, but
yeah, a lot of these films suffer from that. So where were we? So Samuel and Idris get reunited here. He thinks Cleo is dead because Idris is smashing a zombie with a fire extinguisher who kind of looks like her. But he gets her name wrong as well at this point. He's still saying Chloe, and she's like my name.
He says Cleo at this point, doesn't he? Or something like that?
I don't know if it was just the subtitles. But it was like CLIO, and she says CLEO.
Yeah, well, he says like Clio or something.
Yeah, and this is where he finally kind of admits that he did have a thing with Cleo's mother. Idris here is still kind of a comedic figure because he's just annoyed that nobody wants a piece of him, kind of.
As far as hilarious, everyone's just hooking up because it's the end of the world.
Yeah, and he's like, nobody wants him except for this
one. Anybody left for me?
This one weird ultra guy that's obsessed with him. So kind of at this point, they kind of decide, like, right, if we're gonna have to win this or win the day, we're gonna have to go and play some football. So they face off against the zombies. They light up some flares and run and play like a bizarre game of football whilst fighting zombies. This kind of reminded me, I don't know how much I don't claim to know a lot about it, but there's a thing that's still played to this day in England called like medieval football / like mob football. And they play it, I think it's on Shrove Tuesday, and there's one town where they play it, and it's like teams of like 40 versus 40, and they have to get the ball from like one end of the town to the other,
Correct.
I think it's like the Shoreditch game or something. And some places they would call it uppers and downers because one team's trying to get up the hill and one team's trying to get down the hill. Just because there was so many people packed in, it made me think of it.
It's like the British running of the bulls.
Yeah, kind of.
And you're allowed to use your hands in that one, right?
Yeah, like you can.
Yeah.
And like people, you can go and watch it on YouTube. Like you'll see people and like just weird things. Like one guy will get the ball and like jump into a stream with it and be running down a stream with a ball over his head and stuff. Just kind of reminded me a bit of that. So they have the ball and the flares. Samuel shows off some mad skills in the middle of here, and we kind of see Samuel and Idris working together for the first time.
Right.
We finally get the final scene with Geno, who seems stronger than all the other zombies, which is likely the result of him being like the Genesis and the actual one that's been doped. And then Samuel starts to be nice to him, and it finally you sort of see a twinge, like he's gonna forgive Samuel perhaps and see past all the zombie rage, and then he just stabs him and he dies. And it's kind of, again, you expect some big fight, and it's kind of like a bit of a letdown, but it's just one of those comedy things of like subverting expectations. I think it's just like, oh, he's dead, maybe he wasn't actually all that bad. So they run away after this point and get picked up by the police, and then the army are on their way, and so we see them driving off into the distance in the back of a pickup. They kind of is it at this point? Oh, the reporter, Solin, and Samuel have kind of bonded throughout this experience and kind of having a moment together. And then it cuts to Idris, and that one ultra is still trying to connect with him. And he's like, hey, we're going to Paris together. This is great. And he's like, give it up, man.
This was a funny scene because Idris is clearly interested in Sam's daughter.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I could show you the Eiffel Tower one day. And then the ultra is like, hey, I'd love to see it too, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
just cock-blocking him.
So funny. And then that's it. Solene and Samuel kiss, and the movie's kind of done. There were some mid-credit scenes which were pretty funny. So there was an after credit scene of the landlord of the pub showing how he's trying to retrain the zombies to pull pints and work in the pub for him. So kind of a bit, again, like Shaun of the Dead, how Shaun of the Dead kind of has a scene where it shows how they've repurposed zombies. Like they push shopping carts to like clear shopping carts in supermarkets and stuff. And Simon Pegg's character even has one, has Nick Frost living in his shed as a zombie. So it's cool.
And they're showing Sam as he's now bought the pub and he's employing these zombies. Yeah, it was Sam.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Sam.
So I wrote in my notes Sam, but then when it cut later, it looked like a different guy, so I couldn't tell. But then maybe it was just a different guy talking. But yeah, it kind of shows.
Sam, he's a little cleaned up.
Yeah, it's like funny, like they can't pull pints properly and stuff. So it's pretty funny though. So yeah. So before we move on to trivia, let's talk about Footy Flicks. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a whole lot of like traditional Footy Flicks, but we did get a few other little bits. So I guess the more traditional bit we see is right as the zombie apocalypse is about to take place, there is a very, very basic football scene where everything's very slow. We kind of see lots of cuts of torsos of players and definitely scenes where there's no ball at their feet and they're just running around. We only really kind of see Samuel with the ball at that point. And then we get the bit where Samuel's dribbling past the whole team essentially before Idris tries to take the ball off him, and it's like that's in a different style, like lots of shortcuts to kind of mask everything. But again, a lot of it's done from the crowd perspective, so it kind of masks a lot of the action, like because it's at crowd level, so you kind of see the tops of people's heads. And then we see the more crazy stuff later on, which is like full blown like action movie, like it's halfway to like Shaolin Soccer kind of.
Yep.
But yeah, so what are your guys' highlights, I guess, in terms of Footy Flicks? Is there anything else I missed?
What you mentioned, go ahead, Riga.
No, I was just gonna say that there's only 2 times that I really remember them with the ball, right? And if we're talking about Footy Flicks, it has to be, the last scene in the movie where he's trying to beat the entire team. He does a flick over, like a rainbow flick.
Yeah, there's
I
some
remember
decent
that.
skills in that bit.
Yeah, some rainbow flicks. Basically just feinting to one side and beating them. I actually really like that when he's feinting to one side and he's beating the zombies one on one.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and like passing it between I wrote there's some mad skills in the middle of here between both of them. Yeah, so yeah.
That'd be my favorite Footy Flicks. since there's only one of two to choose from. And
I thought it was cool when they, like you mentioned before, so the earlier scenes, how they were masking out fans and stuff like that. So you would see transitions instead of just doing the same thing where it's like a shot of the person's face and then down to their feet and then back up. They were hiding their like inconsistencies with fans' faces. So you'd see the emotion on somebody's face and it would like come across and then it would like cut off half their face. So it would mask half their face and put the action behind that. So I think that's the first time we've seen that like effect used in any football films.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, yeah, if you have crappy football, like you just kind of put lipstick on pig as best you can. And this is probably one of the cooler ways that they've done that. So I thought it was cool in like the traditional sense. And then, just him battling through the horde and like kicking the ball at zombies' heads and stuff like that was something we probably won't see again in any other movies. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Agreed.
How about yourself, Adam?
It has to be that end bit. There's nothing else. Like the other one was it was trash football. Right? That's the problem. It's just so slow and so weird. And then even the bit where Idris is trying to steal the ball from him, it looks like neither of them are actually comfortable on the ball enough to take it. It's kind of really weird. It's like they're both just running side by side like this, and it's like I can't tell if it's either a mixture of them trying to do it for comedic value versus then like neither of them knowing what the hell to do with this ball that's in front of them when they get it, kind of. And plus they had to kind of plan the fall that happens to Samuel when he gets it. So it's got to be that last one. It's just bonkers and fun. It's a really fun like end to that film. Like you don't see anything else like it coming up to it. It's not like Shaolin Soccer where you kind of a little bit done with the trick of that film by the time it gets to the finale, and it's just like, okay, what crap are they going to throw at us now? It's just going to be bigger than the last time. This is genuinely feels like a cool moment that's kind of earned as well, even though it kind of doesn't make sense why they would go back to where all of the zombies are, but then every zombie film ends with them being somewhere where all of the zombies are. So
but that was it though. Like you said, they went back to just their basic human emotion, and I think somebody said, "What do they want?" Well, they just want soccer. All right, let's give it to them.
Let's give it that.
And then they went back.
That is what they say. Yeah. Like,
there was a video game called Pro Zombie Soccer. Did you ever play it?
No.
It was a mobile game, but it was exactly like this. So you'd have to use a ball to like kill zombies.
Oh.
Nice.
It was like early 2010s, I think.
No, I've never played it.
Yeah, joypads for goalposts, Halloween.
There you go. There's a Halloween
making content for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, are you guys ready for some trivia?
Definitely.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to be honest, I really struggled with this one, thinking what to do. At first, I was like, let's do something all about dead footballers, but I was like, that's a little bit grim. So
that's very dark.
Yeah, so I kind of settled on French football. Felt like the easiest thing to do. With a slight, like, Paris twist on it, I guess. So just before we start, I will recap where we are up to with the scores as soon as this tab decides to load. So we are, Ragav, you and me are joint top with 8 points, and Mark is in second with 7 points.
Here we go.
So our first question is, who is Paris Saint-Germain's top goal scorer of all time? Is it Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Francois Mpele, Edison Cavani, or Pauletta? And Mark, you can go first.
I'm going to go with my Portuguese brethren, Pauletta.
Okay, and Ragav.
I'm going to go with Edison Cavani.
Well, I can tell you, joint third with 95 goals each was Francois Mpele and Pauletta. In second place with 156 goals was Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So yeah, Edison Cavani, 200 goals he scored for Paris Saint-Germain before he bolted off to Man United.
He's had a great career at PSG. I remember that, and I sort of remember a little bit of Pauletta as well. But Cavani's done. Yeah,
mid 2000s, Pauletta.
Yep.
Okay, just let me for a sec. Next question is, which team has lifted the most league untitles?
Ooh.
Is it Marseille, Paris Saint-Germain, Saint Etienne, or Monaco? And Ragav, you can go first.
I'm going to say Saint Etienne.
Okay. And Mark.
Really? Went to their stadium in 2016. I'm going to say Marseille.
Okay.
It has to be one of those two.
Ragav is on a roll. It is Saint Etienne.
You know why? Because I remember Liverpool playing Saint Etienne a bunch of times. Well, I don't remember. I wasn't born, but I've heard stories about it, like them playing in Europe against Saint Etienne.
It's one of those things. So Monaco have 8, Marseille have 9, Paris Saint-Germain also have 9, but they only had 2 prior to 2012 when they got bought out by the Qatari Sports Investment Fund, and then Saint Etienne have 10.
Oh wow!
Paris
What was
Saint-Germain.
their last title?
I forget.
It's gotta be like 20 years ago now.
Paris Saint-Germain do hold the title, like the record for the most, like
in a row.
Most in a row, and like the most trophies. Like they hold 43 titles in all because they've won like a League Cup and the version of the FA Cup so many times, and this French Super Cup and all that.
They've won a Cup Winners' Cup, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know.
Well, maybe I'll get to it when I read this book over there.
A
tournament frozen in time. It's all about the Cup Winners' Cup.
There we go.
Okay, third question. So Ragav, this is a chance for you to get a clean sweep today. Which of these teams was not a founding member of the French First Division in 1932? RC Paris, Club Francais, Paris Saint-Germain, or Red Star FC? Mark, you're first.
Sorry, what were the first two?
RC Paris and Club Francais.
Well, sorry, which of these were not a founding member?
Not a founding member of the French First Division in 1932.
Oh, PSG.
Okay. Ragav.
I'm going to say PSG as well because I believe they joined the French League in 1974 or something like that. It wasn't.
Yeah, they were made as like a money club.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it 74?
Correct.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, they were made as kind of a. They had the socios thing, so like a bunch of members and stuff. But they were later. The biggest team in Paris when they were formed was the Paris FC, I think, who are now in the second tier.
It's Paris SG, right?
Something
I think they're
like
called.
That, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're doing actually well in League. I might be wrong, but I thought they were doing all right in League.
Like a maroon crest, I think it was.
No, it's like a blue crest, isn't it?
Blue. I was looking at it. I feel like it's blue.
Not Paris SG, because that would just be Paris Saint-Germain. It's Paris FC, sorry. Yeah, it's a blue crest. I thought they were doing pretty well in... I could be wrong, though. I could be totally wrong.
Oh, yeah. It's got like that weird Eiffel Tower on it.
FC.
I'm thinking of Paris FC from the Hamilton Soccer District.
Yeah, so Paris FC is actually... they're top by 5 points in Ligue 2 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so watch your space. Maybe they'll be in Ligue 1 this time next season.
I didn't know I knew about French football. That's
Apparently
weird.
It's funny the things you just pick up by osmosis, though, right? You've seen that somewhere like 2 weeks ago, and it's just stuck in your head. So just to recap, I guess the scores: Ragav, you are out in front with 11 points, and myself and Mark now are both joint second with 8 points. So we have one order to attend to before we wrap up for the day, guys. And as where we're going to rank this, I will let you know what all the rankings are as we stand. So, in 8th, we have My English Soccer Adventure. 7th, Penalty. 6th, Captain Tsubasa. 5th, Goal 2, Living the Dream. 4th, All the Freckles in the World. 3, When Saturday Comes. 2, Shaolin Soccer. And still holding out in number 1 is Summer of 92. Mark, where do you see this film fitting in?
For me, it's a strong number 2.
Whoa.
Above Shaolin Soccer. As a soccer comedy, this is way better than that. And then my only gripe about this film was its length. Is way better than anything else that we've covered, aside from Summer of 92, which is like a masterpiece. So I'm going to argue for number 2 on this one.
Okay.
Wow.
I was not like I think I said to you earlier, Mark, in like DMs, like this film's high. I was not thinking that high, but okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking a solid number 6, just above Captain Tsubasa.
Oh wow.
Let me pull up.
Yeah, so I think Goal 2, Living the Dream is better. Put it that way.
Oh, no, man.
Okay. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I definitely... I don't know. This is where it gets weird, right? I think this is better than Shaolin Soccer, but not better than When Saturday Comes. And this is where it's weird because we have the way the placing is, just the way it's fallen. Like, you're right, Mark. It is funnier than Shaolin Soccer for sure.
You guys hated Shaolin Soccer.
Yeah.
I hated Shaolin Soccer, but I really liked When Saturday Comes, and I really liked Goal 2. So... I really like Goal 2, but I mean, I like it.
For me, it's like a...
Goal 2 was an assassination on the character of
Yeah,
Santon.
I can't forgive that. Like goal 2 is
Adam-
like lower table for me.
Adam, if you put it in fourth, I'll support you.
What about third?
Adam's
Above-
biased though, man. His uncle was in
Above when Saturday comes.
That's why I'm saying. What about third? Is that the compromise?
You want to put it above when Saturday
you're-
comes?
Possibly. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
It's funny.
as a soccer movie,
As a soccer
Saturday
movie,
comes.
when Saturday comes is better.
but this uses soccer throughout the entire thing, man. I mean, they weave in the hooligans through every point of the storyline. Lurie has to come back because this is the town that he abandoned years ago, and it left them in the second division, and they're struggling to find an identity. So much of this movie is like,
I know, but then when Saturday comes is all about Sheffield area and how football is so important, and this guy's trying to make it.
so you're saying what, third? You guys are proposing third?
I would say fourth. I think when Saturday comes is better.
Hey, this is
But
good.
it's
This
funny
is the
because
first.
you hate Shaolin soccer, and
I
for
do
you,
hate Shaolin soccer.
when Saturday comes should be second.
It should be
Okay,
Wait, are we
so I'm
gonna,
saying second. Regev is saying
fourth.
Adam.
let's cut the difference and put it in third then.
I
Hey,
compromise.
that's big for me to put a film above when Saturday comes.
Nobody wins in this scenario because we all think it's better than Shaolin soccer.
So, all right, is there another conversation here which we've never done before? Do we switch when Saturday comes and Shaolin Soccer and then put this in between the two of them?
Ooh, are we allowed to do that?
I don't
Do
know
what
if we
we
can
like. It's
do
our
that,
fucking
man.
table.
Sorry.
We'll deduct points from Shaolin Soccer. I don't know.
Do you guys actually think when Saturday comes is better than Shaolin soccer? I do. I don't even think Shaolin soccer should be top 4. That's just my opinion.
Oh, really? No.
It should be in a Europa League spot. Put it that way.
When did we review that movie? Second?
Yeah.
I can
No,
look.
third, second or third.
When Saturday Comes kicked off the season.
Yes. Summer of '92 was after that, or Shaolin soccer was after that.
Shaolin Soccer was after it.
Yep. Okay.
I'm trying to get my
Oh,
computer.
wow. So we put it above When Saturday Comes right after it.
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know, man.
You guys want to rearrange this table?
Yes. Let's rearrange it, please.
Because this is the other thing. It's going to cause us problems later down the road when it comes to trying to slot them into an overarching table, and none of us actually agree that
Yeah.
Shaolin Soccer is better than When Saturday Comes, because then that'll mean When Saturday Comes can top out somewhere else. Can't top out above Shaolin Soccer.
So we'll go summer of '92. When Saturday comes, this movie, and then Shaolin soccer in fourth. Does that make sense?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. So then I'll concede. Well, I was going to put it above When Saturday Comes, but
It's really
you
hard.
guys
They're
help
so
me.
different. Like, When Saturday Comes is so boring compared to this, but it's so accurate and gritty and drab in a way it's meant to be.
It's like a folk movie that you have to watch to learn more about the area. And
I liked it, man. I really liked When
It's hard
Saturday
for me. I'm
comes.
so biased. Obviously.
I'm not even biased. I just liked it.
I say we do that.
it had its flaws, though. Like,
Oh,
as a
yeah.
film, it had a lot of flaws,
yeah.
but it's kind of like a small history lesson on Sheffield and everything. It's worth watching. But if
Alright.
you guys want to do it that way, so
Let's do that.
summer of '92 with When Saturday Comes, and then Goal of the Dead.
All of the Dead, yeah.
Okay, and then Shaolin Soccer gets bumped below that.
Shaolin soccer gets
Yeah.
bumped below that, and then it's just the regular table after that.
Okay, Adam, do you remember that?
I'll
You
remember
want to
that.
read off the new table?
I'll read off the new table. So we have My English Soccer Adventure in 8th. Penalty in 7th.
In ninth now.
Ninth.
Yeah.
Penalty in 8th. Captain Tsubasa in 7th. Goal 2 Living the Dream in 6th. All the Freckles in the World in 5th. Shaolin Soccer in 4th. Goal of the Dead in 3rd. When Saturday Comes, gets an unexpected bump up to 2nd. And still in number 1 is Summer of '92.
There we go.
I'm happy
All
with
right.
that.
Sitting pretty at the top, summer of '92.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very interested when we have the end of season chat where we feel it compares to Damn United for sure.
Yeah,
'Cause that's gonna
we'll see.
We'll see.
We still have Troutman and United, which might give it a run.
Yep.
Yeah. Which one are we doing next?
Is Troutman the keeper?
Troutman.
Is next.
Troutman, the keeper. Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So, Mark, where can people find you on the internet if they want to hear more from you?
83 football on my Instagram, and I'm going to try and update that because I've been working on other stuff and that's kind of fallen by the wayside. So I'll put some new projects up there. And then I've actually been uploading our Matchday Matinee episodes there as well. If for some reason you want to watch on IGTV, I'm not sure why, but hey man, we're on every platform that you want to be on. And then on Twitter, I am at MarkA3.
And Raghav, where can people find you?
So I am at Raghav Sandhu, both on Twitter and Instagram. Find me there. Mostly just posting personal stuff, but the Twitter's quite fun, so connect.
And you can find me, Joypad Goalposts, on both Twitter and Instagram. And check out my YouTube channel where I do slowly pull up stuff. And more importantly, if you want to engage with the show, follow us at Matchday Matinee on Twitter. So that's it. So from the terrace to the theatre of dreams, we are Matchday Matinee, and we will see you next week. Good night.
Happy Halloween.
Ciao. Happy Halloween.